Get my fat ass comfortable in my chair here. Hey guys, what is going on? My name is Kiryoku Writes, and you are listening to the Maybe Pile Show. I am here as always with my co-host, Tony. Tony, how are you doing today, man?
Rising to her apology and believing what a fool believes. I'm doing alright, I can't complain there, Kay. The last week I've been like obsessed with What a Fool Believes by the Doobie Brothers, and I have no idea why.
Can't really say I blame you there. It's a really, really good song, and for somebody like myself who's played GTA 5 for ever since it came out, I have heard that song way too many times that I care to remember. Holy shit. I've heard that song an awful lot.
I never played GTA 5. I only
Really?
got into number 3 back on the PlayStation
Really?
2.
That's really something. I'm surprised, considering it's like the highest grossing media in existence.
I don't know. I mean, like, I played the first one, and it was like, okay, great, I get to go around this town and shoot people and cheat in tanks with, like, what was the code? Like, 8 circles, and then, like, triangle, square, triangle, or something, and then all of a sudden you get a tank, and it's like, haha,
I never actually played GTA 3.
It was alright, simple.
Yeah, San Andreas was actually my introduction, not only into the GTA series, but it was also my introduction into just gaming. That was the very first video game I ever sat down and played.
What the fuck?
What?
Seriously? That was your first video game?
Yeah, it was, yep.
Yeesh. How old are you?
22. So I didn't get into gaming until I was, I guess, a little later in my life.
Yeah. Well,
and I think San Andreas might have been like 2 years old at that point. So
right.
It's been a while.
Jeez Louise. Oh my god. Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I think my perspective has always been like, oh yeah, I've had video games all my life, so when people sit there and they say, no, my first game was like Halo 3, I'd be like, wait, what? How? How is that your first game, the third game in a series, would be like my next question in this hypothetical situation. But like, I'm sitting here looking at like, trying to think back at what my first video game was, and obviously there are people that are like a generation up from me that are like, oh yeah, my first game was Adventure on the Atari 2600 or whatever it is. But no, my first video game I want to say was like, was the combo Mario Brothers / Duck Hunt on the original NES. Like, that was my first video game. And
I have played some of the I have played the retro games like the N64, like Mario Party and stuff like that. I have played those, and they're an absolute load of fun. I absolutely love them. They're fantastic games. They're great.
Well,
but
N64 being considered retro at this point, I'm just like, oh, stop it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just the way it was. I think I might have played it when I was like, I don't know when GTA San Andreas came out. I'm not sure when it came out.
I want to say that was sometime around like, I want to say 2004? Hold on.
Google, save us.
Yeah, Google, please save us all. Okay, so San Andreas actually, October 26, 2004. Bang 2004. On!
I thought it was going to be 2003. 2004, alright, yeah. I think
all
I
you had to
played
do was
it
follow
around
the damn trains, DJ.
5, 6, 7. I think I started playing it around 2007.
Yeah, it happens.
So it was a few years down the line, but whatever. Oh, love that game. Then Vice City I played just shortly after I started playing San Andreas. I got into Vice City, and the GTA fanboy me just grew from there. Although I didn't like 4. I could not get into 4 no matter how hard I tried.
Yeah.
Just couldn't get into it.
Yeah, well, some games just aren't for everybody, and sometimes a series can take an absolute dooker of a entry and be completely and totally lost.
Yeah. definitely. Oh well, they definitely brought it around again with 5, and I know everybody's now speculating about 6 with the release of the new consoles around the corner.
Ugh.
I know you don't care about it, but I know
I
I'm
don't
definitely looking forward to the next entry into the GTA series. I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Oh yeah, sure. Keep making Grand Theft Auto games. It's perfectly fine. Just
Amazing.
as long as there's no controversy or anything like it. It's like, yeah, whatever.
I'm sorry. The GTA games are built to be controversial.
But like, I'm talking like, I don't know, like the hot coffee mod from like way back in the day, or I guess the there was that one lawsuit, but that wasn't really their fault. It was like Lindsay Lohan was suing Rockstar Games for use of her likeness, and then the courts are like, it looks nothing like you. Get out of here. And I was like,
yeah,
all right, fine, whatever.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember hearing about that. Yeah. Oh well, whatever. But whatever. I really don't care what the GTA games have in them, because that's one of the few outlets I get to be vulgar without people judging me, and if they judge me for playing a video game, they don't matter to me in the slightest.
But that's the thing, though. It's like I tried playing. I got really upset one day, and I tried like using it as a vent, but I was like, it just wasn't for me. It was like I was trying to like mow down and like kill as many people as I could, but it's like, no, it just didn't do anything. I was like, this isn't helping at all. So I was just like, yeah, whatever. I guess I'll just deal with my emotions in a regular, healthy way or something like that. I was just like, whatever.
Oh yeah. Sometimes it's really good for people to vent through video games, and other times it's not. It's a good way to vent. Or if I would force myself to get back into it, I could probably start working out again, and I could vent frustration through physical activity. It's a very good way for me. I'm just very lazy.
Right, of course. I mean, hey, if you wanted to go work out, great, go do it. More power to you. I believe that's probably going to be the healthiest de-stress thing for you.
Yeah, I used to be in really good shape. I just kind of stopped lifting weights and stuff, but I used to be really, really good. Good at it. Oh, but that doesn't matter anymore. I'm gonna have to try and force myself to get back into it, because it built like unbelievable amounts of confidence. Like knowing you can lift, like I was like 300 pounds at the time, and knowing I can lift over half my body weight was like really, really, really good.
I want to say back in high school, I think I was at 250, 270, and I was putting up for my deadlift. What did I have? I think it was like 300 pounds was my max. I was like the second highest deadlift in my class, and it was actually pretty cool. In my weight training class, that is.
I took weight training as well. That's where I did my stuff. I actually I had to take like 2 physical exams every year I was in high school. One for when I was a freshman. Everybody took phys ed for freshman year, because nobody wanted to take it any other year, and you only had to take it once for like one semester or one school year, whatever. So when I was a freshman, I took the first physical exam for phys ed, and then the second physical exam that year for JROTC. And I took weight training the 3 years after, and so I had to take 2 physical exams every year regardless. But it wasn't that big of a deal. When I was in peak shape, I did great. I just suck at cardio, and I still do to this day. I suck at cardio. Whenever they're like, okay, go run the mile, I'm like, son of a bitch, can I get out of this somehow? I hated it.
Yeah, it like cardio is definitely one of those things that me dealing with person dealing with asthma, like it can really suck. But at the same time, at like my peak gymness last year, it was like I made it a point to focus on cardio, because I knew if I didn't, I would just like absolutely just never do it. So I made sure to be like, okay, for a while there, actually, just to make sure that I like got in repetition, it's the only thing I did was just run on the treadmill. So I was slowly getting faster and faster every day, or at least pushing myself a little bit harder. Whether it was I every, I don't know, like I'd get up to roughly around 3 miles, I think it's 3 miles an hour if the numbers on the treadmill actually matter. 3 miles an hour for my run for about an hour, but every minute I'd increase the incline by like 0.1 degree or something like that. I don't know, whatever the incline amount was on the gyms at EOS. I'd just be like, all right, another minute, or I'm sorry, every 10 or 5 minutes or something like that. So eventually I'd slowly get like a pretty decent incline. And then at the like last minute or so, the last minute before cooldown, I would just crank it all the way to the top and be like, all right, max it out. And I would just climbing that thing like no tomorrow.
Oh man.
And then they'd be like, all right, cool down. So it only brings it back down like halfway and then another halfway. And I'm just like, hurry up, cool down faster.
I always hated cooldown because it's like, I hated doing it because it was like, I just want to drop dead. I don't want to do cooldown. I just want to stop. But
yeah.
You would be paying for it hardcore.
Oh, for sure. Like, if you don't cool down right, you can be fucked for the next week.
Thankfully, I was never that bad. But now when I first started weight training, obviously, the pain was killer. Because, when you first start, you're not used to using your muscles that way. And it sucks. And I was in like one of the very, very, very few people that took weight training just to take it. I was, might have been like only one or two other people in there that took it, for other reasons other than the fact that they were athletes. Because I was not a school athlete, but I was taking it with all the wrestlers, the football players, the basketball players. So I was in there with like these massive guys who were benching like 400 pounds, and I'm just like sitting here with my little 175, and I'm like, holy shit.
Oof.
I think my max was like, I think it was like 195 or somewhere around there. And I think the spotter kind of took some of the weight off of me, so I technically got to 200 pounds.
Yeah. I'll count it.
Yeah.
Whenever I was spotting, I'd always have like little like fingers on the bar, just like not even like barely touching, just like kind of just a little, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I totally get it. But the spotters, I mean, the more weight you got, whenever we did the max, the coach would always have our spotters, that he would always have us do, he would always make sure that we had a good grip on the bar. He wouldn't let us do the little, twiddly fingers or whatever it was.
I guess I was just lucky.
He would always be like, make sure you get a grip on the bar. Let them lift it, but have a grip on it. Because, when you're maxing out, there's a higher risk of you slipping or something.
Right. And I guess our weight training class wasn't really big on being like, no, I'm going to go for the best. I'm going to be the best. And a lot of it was a lot of just like, we're just going to lift. And if I can beat my thing next week, you'd be like, okay, little increments. There was maybe like 2 or 3 people in the place that were actually like, actual, maybe football players or whatever in the class. But then again, it was like, yeah, no, but they're by themselves. Everyone else was like, yeah, we're just going to lift a little bit. And, nobody was ever being like, oh, God, I need the belt. Give me a belt. Get on me. I got to have the thing going.
It was the total opposite for me. That it kind of sucked though. Actually, it really sucked because I was the black sheep, because everybody else was massive, and I'm just sitting here with just fat on my body and just a little bit of muscle. I'm just like, son of a bitch.
But that's really the thing, though. It's like, if you look at professional bodybuilders, they're not cut. They're not, these are not bodybuilders. Sorry. If you look at bodybuilders, they're super cut and lean. But if you look at professional weightlifters, like strongman competitions, they're these big, doughy looking guys. But they've got so much core to them that they have this like big fat around them as protection. How like actual healthy, strong people are supposed to look instead of the glorified, romanticized, muscular tone look that, Hollywood perpetuates. It's like, no, if you want to be like this strong dude, well, guess what? You're probably going to be a little bit more fluffy around the edges,
Yeah. And I know that if I would have like ate healthier during high school, I would have been like a beast. I would have had fluff, but I would have been an absolute beast if I would have started diet earlier, but it doesn't matter because it felt really great, and I know that the athletes had a lot, like my fellow weightlifters, they had a lot of respect for me for being there. They had a lot of respect.
Right.
So it was really good, you know. They would spot me, I would spot them, and we would play sports, like every Friday we would play softball.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty fun. Because that was our reward for having like a good weightlifting week, was we got to play baseball on Fridays or softball or whatever.
Nice.
Or basketball during the winter. It was fun.
I kind of wish I take that back. I didn't really want to be in sports at all during high school either. It was more of, I got my few gym credits from like weight training, and I don't remember why I had to take online bowling, but I did. And I can't remember why. Very weird. And I can't remember what the circumstances was, but, whatever. That's high school. Really? That's all 2020 vision back in the past.
Yeah, I should start weightlifting again. I don't have any weights, so I'll have to get like either buy some weights or get a gym membership or something.
Do it.
Yeah.
And then I'll go back to the gym and be like, "What did you do tonight, Kay? Did you get all your reps in?" You'll be like, "Yeah, Mums, I totally did."
Oh,
and
man.
Then we could talk about how many wizard blasts we did, aka parallel arm drags, I believe it's called. Wizard blasts.
I don't think I've ever heard of those.
There, you go up to 2 of the bars that like have the weights on them.
Okay.
Let me rephrase that. One of the cable bars that you pull down and it lifts the weight that's on like that pole.
Yeah.
You have 2 of them up and out. So you're your arm's a little bit higher than a T pose. And you take like 1 or 2 steps forward, and then I'm trying to describe this in a verbal medium. And then you kind of bring your arms down and together in front of you. Sort of like imagine a wizard or like a waterbender, like blasting water down, but not like shooting out from your chest. More like, where you like, if you're in a pool and you like just sweep your arm to create this like giant like woof of water. It's like that, but like down in front of your chest.
Just imagining that, I always hated the cord machine because they always turned up the weight for me. Just imagining doing that makes my arms ache. I just remember doing that stupid cord. Oh man, I hated it so bad. Oh,
yeah,
I know I'm
gonna
get
one
have
on
to do
each
it
arm,
again.
and you just bring them down and wizard's blast.
I need a massage. Oh my god, man! I'm having flashbacks as to how hard it is to weightlift with football players. Good God, because they never. They didn't really know. We would rotate machine to machine is what we would do. So you never really knew who was going to be on the machine next. So there was no way that my classmates knew if I was going to be on there next. So they didn't know when to turn the weight down for me. So I was stuck with this like immense amount of weight. And then I had fuck those leg lifts. I hated leg lifts. Oh god. Now the leg press. I was very good at that. I exceeded in the leg press. I pressed like an incredible 900 pounds at my peak. I was a beast on that. And I think I was in my high school a few years ago, like a year or so after I graduated for something. I forget what was going on, and I was in there. And I snuck down to the weight room. I was like, I wonder how much I could do on this old thing. And I did it. I did because it was an old machine. It wasn't that long since I was there. It was just an old machine. And I think I did 400 pounds before I had the guys that were with me. I was like, take it off. Take it off. Take it off. I was like, take it fucking off. So I think I did 350 just fine. Then then I had them add another 50, and then I broke my legs. Not literally, but it felt like it.
My leg.
It was fun. It was fun though. I need to get a gym membership and start doing that again because it was really, really fun. Yeah, it was stuff like that. I don't know if I said this or not. Chapter 4 on my novel is done.
Nice.
I told you that. Yeah, I didn't mention it on the podcast, I don't think, but I did tell you through Twitter that I got chapter 4 done, which is amazing.
Nice.
Because I've been working on that for a long time, like a couple months now. I've been stuck on that little hurdle, and I finally got over it. So I'm just gonna get into chapter 5 and just blow through it as fast as I possibly can.
Mm-hmm. And at what point would you say that you are at with this story? Are you like halfway through Act 1? Are you not even a quarter of the way? Like, where would you say you are with this book?
If you're gonna split the book up into 3 acts, I would say Act 1 is just about ready to draw to a close. Just about ready.
Just a bit on the outside.
Once chapter 5 is done, then Act 1 will be over when chapter 5 is done.
Uh-huh. Okay. All right.
So then we'll have a big reveal in the story, and then Act 2 is going to be all of the the intense whatever is going to happen.
Nice.
And then Act 3 is going to be the obvious conclusion, or obviously the conclusion. I try to make my stuff the least amount of obvious as possible.
Right. Well, spoilers for anybody who's reading this book, that they're like, oh, well, Act 5 is the end of the chapter, so Act 5. Sorry, no, Act 3 is the end of the chapter 5, so it's like, oh, well, now I know what it's going to be.
Oh, well. Maybe I'll change it up a little bit, so that way if anybody listens to this and they somehow get their hands on my book, they'll be like, they'll be kind of confused. They'll be like, I thought he said it was here, but it's not. It's like, aha, I fooled you, asshole.
Ha-ha!
I hope I don't end up burning myself out. I took on another project along with it. I started one. Not took on, I started one.
Mm-hmm.
Starting a comic.
Interesting.
Just, a slice of life webcomic is what I'm starting, and I got the first 6 panels done. I just need to ship them off to the artist and have her draw them, and then I guess we'll be ready to go. I'm trying to figure out where to take the story of that one. I got bored one night, and I wanted some stress relief, so I was like, I'll just blow off some steam and make a comic about some slice of life stuff. And yeah, I shat that out, so we'll see what happens with that. That'd be kind of nice, though, to get that up and going.
Nice.
So,
all right.
Yeah, and I have 2 friends of mine that I don't know where this came from. One of my friends, I know he's always been into the entertainment industry. He originally wanted to be an actor, and
an actor.
Stuff like that, an actor in the theatre or whatever, and
theatre.
What do you want me to tell you?
All right. Go on.
There's nothing really inherently special about him. He's just a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, sorry, I got sidetracked by some thoughts. Anyway, yeah, he wanted to be an actor, and he was like, I want to try my hand at making my own show, sort of like you are, Kay. And I'm like, okay, what do you want? Do you want me to help you? He's like, what would you be willing to do for me? I was like, well, I'll write the script for you. How about that? And he was like, you will? I'm like, yeah, why not? So I guess as soon as he figures out the story and the characters and stuff like that, he'll just send me an outline of what he wants done, and I'll do that for him. With that voice crack, though. Yeah. And another friend of mine who I know, he's a mutual friend, he's a really great guy, he randomly said, oh, I want to do that too. And he's actually serious about it. I didn't know if he was just like saying it offhand, but no, he's given me like an outline of a story and characters and stuff, and I'm like, okay, I'll take your script on as well. So I have like a book, 2 pilots, and a comic. Help me.
Well, I don't really know much about your writing or how you best operate, so I obviously can't tell or judge or comment to your writing ability. But hey, best of luck, and I hope you don't hurt yourself.
I don't think I will. I sure hope I don't. I sure hope I don't. I don't plan on it. But yeah, I don't plan on like burning out or anything like that. If I start doing that, I'll start letting things, not dropping things, but I'll start making the time between my writing sessions longer if I need to give myself a little bit of a break.
Right, right.
But unfortunately, I'm very, very bad at balancing myself, like my time. I'm very bad at balancing my time because I'll go through these little spurts where it's like I will sit down and I will write for like a literal 7-day week, a full week. Just sit down, write for 7 full days, nothing else. I'll sit down for a whole week and just do that. And I'll be like, yeah, if I can keep this up, I'll do really well. But then I crash, because obviously 7 days doing that, I'm fucking tired. So I crash from basically exhaustion. And then I'll be like, well, how am I going to balance this out? And then I'll go like 2 or 3 weeks without writing a word, which admittedly is extremely bad.
Yeah. So it's almost to the point where you have to literally force yourself from writing, or at least limit yourself to maybe half as much time that you would be writing on those days. Like, let's say you write for 4 hours a day for 7 days straight. Well, then at the end of that, or for 7 days straight, and then at the end of that week, you feel like completely and totally burnt out. And then next thing you know, you got to like, you're taking 2 weeks off. Well, how about you cut it down to just 2 hours a day every day, or 4 hours every other day, or something to that effect? That would probably be the best idea for you. And hey, maybe if you do that, it'll be much like, I was going to say like what do they call it? Where like crops, instead of like spacing them X amount, they have to like double it up. But it turns out that the crops grew taller when they did that. Whatever. Anyway, maybe it'll turn out to be something along the lines of that. When you limit yourself to your writing during that time, your writing gets better.
Yes.
Since you are taking that time.
Yeah. And I've definitely learned that, I've learned that if I come back to what I've been doing, if I come back to a script or a book, whatever, if I come back to my stuff after, say, a week or so, which it shouldn't be that long, but when I come back to it, I look at it through fresh eyes, and I'm just like, what the fuck was I doing? I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking? What the hell is this dog shit on my screen? What have I done to poor Celtex, which is the software I use to write? It's great. Love it. Highly recommend. Sponsor me, for the love of God, please. I need the money. So, yeah, coming back to it after a short break with a fresh look is great. You see a lot of problems that you didn't see before, and you can fix a lot of plot holes that you may have written yourself into. It's so amazing. It's so great.
And that's
awesome.
That's what everyone should do. I mean, like, chances are everyone's first draft is always going to be absolute garbage, and it's only by taking a moment, stepping back, going to bed, coming back the next day, and being like, okay, what the fuck happened? All right, here's where I'm at, and going through and fixing it. There's so many times that with my D&D campaign that I'm writing, which admittedly probably isn't so much a campaign that I'm writing, more along lines of like unfortunately more like a choose your own adventure sort of situation.
Right.
And that they just kind of happen to follow along. Or this is me dogging on myself more or less, but I know that when I go back to reading what I've written down, it's more or less being like, am I explaining this right? Does that make sense? Maybe I should try this other way. And maybe like the second or third time that, rewriting it is like, okay, no, this has definitely been ironed out. This is all the quirks and kinks and whatnot have been laid out, and definitely this is the direction that it's going to go in, and it's actually really good. Yes.
There's a fine line between critiquing yourself and fixing things, and the other side, I guess, would be absolutely just hating and having no faith in what you're doing. If you don't have faith in what you're doing, it's not going to turn out right, because you're not going to make it turn out right.
Narcissism versus self-deprecating. Self-deprecating.
Or pessimism, I guess, is what you could say.
Well, pessimism's opposite is optimism. So that's just a general outward look would be optimism, pessimism.
Fair enough.
Narcissism versus self-deprecating would be more like, well, obviously it's low versus high self-worth, and taking that opportunity to be like, hey, all right, what are we doing?
Completely. I totally agree with that. Yeah, it's a fine line between those things, because when you start, it's like when you start having faith in your writing and you're like, oh, I remember writing this. This is actually really good. I like this part. And then you kind of, excuse me, you got a little bit of a hiccup. And then when you come back to it, it's like, wait, am I becoming a narcissist? am I getting too big for my pedestal or whatever you want to call it? I don't know how you would phrase it at the moment. You start kind of calling yourself out. And it's just like, is this right? And all I'll say to those types of people, people who are having that issue is, just have faith in your writing. Don't think it's the greatest thing ever. Just have faith in it. Just
keep your eyes open.
Yeah, keep your eyes open. I cannot stress this enough, be open to constructive criticism. Be open to it. If you are not open to constructive criticism, you are not going to get anywhere with writing or anything really.
Right.
If you are not open to that, then you are not going to do anything with what you're creating.
Yeah, and be careful whose advice you do take, though, because obviously not everyone's going to have better experience than you, but obviously understanding what people mean by an outside opinion of it. Like, obviously, if you understand your words perfectly, but somebody else doesn't, obviously that's something else. But if someone who may not be as well versed on a subject or whatever, may not, may say that you have to do something a different way when really they don't know what they're talking about. So take it all in with a grain of salt as well. Yes. Obviously, be open to it, but also think about what that means to your story. Are they trying to change your story? Are they trying to change how you write, how you speak through your story? Or is it simply the fact that, they personally are having a hard time understanding something? So it's like, okay, well, let's change this around a little bit.
Keep your characters that you create and the end goal that you have for them in mind. Keep them in mind at all times, because they are, if you're creating characters, they are your characters, not anybody else's. They are yours. And you have, if you're serious about writing, you have a clear story in mind and you have a clear end goal for them. Keep that in mind at all times. It will change. I'm going to tell you right now, it will change. But keep a general idea of what you want them to be and do in mind all the time. That way, you're not going to have somebody come up and be like, your character shouldn't be a mage, I think he should be a vampire, or whatever, Because if you may think to yourself, oh, well, it's just one little change, even though that's not a little change depending on the situation.
Yeah.
But you have to think of down the line, will that, how will that? It's not a question of will, it's a question of how. How will that impact your end game? How will that impact the outcome of the story that you're trying to tell? So beware of the opinions of idiots. However, listen to them. Listen to their opinions, but just beware of their opinions as well. Just take it all with a grain of salt, just like you said. I can't really phrase that any better.
Exactly.
I can't phrase that any better than you already have. Although I will say the comic is just kind of floating right now because I don't have a clear vision in mind for that. So naturally, writing that is just kind of a stream of consciousness, more or less. Because I have no goal in mind, therefore I have no solid characters, solid world or story.
And that's the problem that I feel like a lot of webcomics run into. Like, of the 3 or 4 major webcomics that I read back in my day, back in my day was Bob and George, which was an old Mega Man Sprite comic. There was Elguna Shiv, which was on Keen something, Comic Keen or something, one of these webcomic things, and every weeb's first webcomic, Mega Tokyo. And the problem with a lot of these ones was that there was no real end goal to the comic itself. You know, it had its sort of like chapters and sort of arcs to like, okay, this character needs this character needs this character needs this. But the problem that arrives with that is the fact that, you know, unless you have some major overall arcing goal, you know, they're going to be a little lost. They're going to be a little bit all over the place, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know why I stopped reading Mega Tokyo, but I have a feeling it's got to do something with the fact that, you know, it just wasn't really going anywhere. It was kind of just the same thing every episode, or every comic, that is. It's just like, okay, they're doing something here. All right, I gotta wait a whole 24 hours for the next thing, or sometimes a week later.
Yeah.
Was it a week? No, it was like a 24-hour rotation. Never mind. Yeah. And it was just like, you know, I kind of just, you just stop caring, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. When there's no end goal, eventually the audience is just going to, they're going to give up, because they're going to be like, well, there's nothing. I mean, it's like there's stuff happening. We like these characters, but they don't have a purpose anymore.
Doing,
so,
you know?
Yeah. Although there's a little bit of a counter to that, whereas, and I always tell my one friend this, because he's a really great guy, but I know he's a little scatterbrained when it comes to his art, you know, when his writing and stuff. Yeah. So I always have to tell him, your characters themselves are what is most important. Your characters are what matter. Like, yes, the story is important. Yes, the world is important. But I always tell him, if you have characters that are interesting enough to where they could literally just sit on a couch and have a conversation, and the viewer, reader, whatever, will be interested in what they're saying, then you have something good.
Yeah.
It's making the characters interesting. That is the basis of your entire media.
Oh, for sure. And obviously, you know, the old saying goes, it's like, yeah, you can't polish a turd. But at the same time, it's like, well, damn it. You can't polish a turd. And it's like, okay, well, no, that's exactly not the direction I'm going for. What am I talking about?
Dirt.
So, I think it's important that every story is rooted in good character design. It's one of those things that, you know, you need to make sure that, you know, you could have a fantastical world that everyone is very interested in, wants to learn more about the world, but it wasn't so much the fact that, you know, the fact that the elves took the 5 rings or whatever, or the 3 rings to the elves, and the 9 rings to the kings of men, and 4 rings to the dwarves and whatnot. Nobody really cared about that aspect of the Lord of the Rings. What really drove people, or at least from my experience watching the movies, so to speak, what really drove people to like Lord of the Rings was the fact of how the characters interacted and how they all meshed with one another. Obviously, you have Frodo and Sam, who are old friends who come from the Shire, who are very, very close, and they have a close friendship and relationship with each other. And then obviously, to a slightly lesser extent, Merry and Pippin, who are also of the Shire, who are sort of their world, not as close as Frodo and you know, how their relationship to the other two kind of merge, and they sort of have the same ideals, but not quite the same for Frodo. He's, you know, off on this adventure, and Merry and Pippin just happen to be along, sort of going along with it. Obviously, it changes over the way, but then how how those 4 interact with Aragon, and how, you know, all this, and how they come together, and not only Gandalf's relationship between Bilbo, but Gandalf's relationship to Frodo, and seeing what has happened to Bilbo and trying to prevent that for Frodo. And, you know, it's the interconnectivity and the individual's wants that really, if you're able to flesh that out, you have a great personal story, not great personal story, but a great group dynamic, obviously. And if you don't have characters that feel connected, or they don't have, stakes in each other's lives, it's all for naught, It's like, why do I care about this person who's got to team up with this person to go fight this other guy? Well, because this, and this. Does that matter to you? Yes? Great. It's a good story. No? It might as well just be no better than the role that you have in the bathroom. You know what I mean?
Yep. I totally get it. I'm struggling to find out what to add to that because you pretty much just summed everything up perfectly.
And obviously, when the story is done and over, people are still able to sit there and go look at the lore that happens around the world. But, it wasn't so much, the history of the Kingdom of Men, or in the I think it was called the First Age, or the before Third Common Era, or whatever they use for their, grand time frame, or the Age of Dragons, or whatever they call these things. You can fall back and kind of get into that. That's why a lot of people are like, oh, hey, I really like Lord of the Rings. Oh, well, turns out there was a story about Bilbo, and there was a whole thing about that, even though The Hobbit came first and Lord of the Rings came after. People's entrance to it was for most parts was Lord of the Rings, and then into The Hobbit. And then obviously if someone's super into both of these stories, they can go look into the whole Silmarillion sort of thing, and with the old ones, and the Nine Allah, or whatever they're called, and blah blah blah, these gods, those gods, these lesser gods creating these things, and this Morgod creating the Balrogs, that, this and that and all that other jazz. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally get it. And I find myself with my main project, which is my show I'm trying to get pitched and stuff. I find that it's hard for me to do stuff like that, where it's like I want to make people interested in the whole thing overall, like as in characters and the world and the lore, everything else. I want to make people interested in everything, so I find myself constantly struggling to get people interested in the whole thing overall.
And that's something that you can't necessarily think about all the time. The first thing that you have to... The first thing that you always have to focus on is getting the story on paper. Yes. That's your first goal from start to finish, Not necessarily just UK, but like the viewers at home. It's like, if you do care about your writing, your first step, get it out of your head and get it on paper, After that, then in your second or third revision, you can start thinking about, okay, what is it that would draw the reader to this character, or to this character, or instill ire towards this other character? How can I really make this heel feel more heelish, or how can I get the reader to sympathize with the antagonist and sort of drive this? Wow, I feel really sorry for this bad guy. They really have it, whatever that has led them to this situation.
Yeah, it's for me, it's all about making the characters feel human. So that way people find it easy to form a connection with the character itself,
Right.
And, I find myself taking on too much responsibility for my main project too early on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at the big picture when I need to be looking at the here and now. That is such a big problem with me in my everyday life, is where I am focused on the whole overall thing, instead of what's going on today, what's going on here. And obviously that transitions into my writing, like I said, where it's like I'm focused on the whole overarching story of my characters, instead of focusing on what are they doing in this scene.
Mm-hmm.
And I find the hardest thing for me to do is writing it's like the hardest thing I find myself to do for myself is getting characters from point A to point B. As in, I know what they're going to do at point A. I sure as shit know what they're going to do at point B. But how the hell do I get them in between? That is such a big problem for me. Now, obviously I've been writing a lot more, so I've gotten a little better at fixing those things, but that is still my number one problem. That and naming my characters. That's a pain. That's a pain.
God.
That's a bitch. Naming characters in places is a bitch. It's hard. It's very hard. So
I mean, and not only naming characters, but also naming characters diversely enough that you can actually draw this person as this person as this person. That way you can be like, oh, that's that name. I do remember that name. I'm currently going through The Witcher, and I'm on, where was I at last night? I think episode 6 last night of The Witcher.
Right.
And it's like, my friend was telling me that a character was talking about when they first won their battle of whatever, and I knew who this queen was, but I completely, like, I can barely tell you a single character's name in The Witcher other than Geralt and Yennefer.
Right.
And that's probably saying something about, like, my level of, like, paying attention into it, despite the fact that when I'm watching The Witcher, I am focused on it. It's not playing in the background ever. It's not, just being something I'm listening to. No, I am listening to almost every word these people say, but for some odd reason, they literally in the first episode go, ever since Queen whatever won her first battle back in whatever, and then later on they say, oh, Queen what's her name just won the battle of whatever, and I'm like, my friend told me that, and I'm like, I had no idea they even said that, even though I'm literally listening to every single word everyone is saying.
Well, it's inevitable. I don't know if that was a big thing or a small thing. I'm assuming it was a big thing.
It's sort of a small thing, but it sets up something that happens that you click over to realize in about, I want to say, episode 3 or 4.
Well, I would say to that, I would say it's inevitable that certain things are going to slip by.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're, like, laser focused and you're, like, taking college notes on it, there are still things that are going to slip by,
Well, I feel like if I was taking notes about it and, like, pausing and be like, okay, who is this? And, like, kind of take a second, write it down, do the whole thing. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't miss it.
It's less likely, but I'm sure that there will be something. At that point,
I'm not enjoying it as the author intended. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't. Nobody expects you to. You're not a critic. You're a viewer, and you're there for entertainment and enjoyment. That's what you're there for.
Well, not until my other YouTube show takes off.
Yeah. How's that going, by the way?
It's going fine. I mean, I have a couple of scripts that I could do. Also, I'm trying to pump these episodes out at the same time, so it's kind of like finding a work balance where I don't want to take on a book, a webcomic, and another thing and get burnt out.
Yeah. Oh, God. 2 pilots on top of that. Good Lord.
Yeah. So,
I hope that they hold off.
I want to get into that, obviously, and get that taken care of.
Cool.
Did I talk last week about 1917 and the war movie I saw?
I believe so. Yeah,
okay, well then never mind.
I believe you did? Yeah, I think so.
Other things I've watched, though, is a subtle transition into another world.
Movies.
Not necessarily movies, because I actually haven't seen a movie since 1917, which...
that's a long time.
Shut up, I hate you. Anyway, so I watched all of Don't Fuck with Cats on Netflix, which is a great documentary about somebody I had no idea even existed. Up until the last 5 minutes where they shit the bed, and I'm like, well, fuck this documentary. I hate it now.
Okay.
It's this whole thing that, there were all these documentaries that came out about the Jeffrey Dahmer and, these sort of wave of true crime documentaries about all these big publicity murderer people who did all these weird things. And it's like, oh, geez, okay, well, people just really like Ted Bundy or, any number of these, like, clean-cut white guys from the 70s that killed people. But at the very end, I should say, is that it's sort of revealed that this guy is sort of doing this to be caught, to be watched, and he kind of wants the hunt to happen. Very Catch Me If You Can is alluded to many a times in the documentary. And it's sort of the people that they're interviewing who were like investigating this guy through like internet chat rooms and whatnot are like, oh, our whole thing is that, oh, were we part of the problem? Were we egging this on? If we just ignored it and left it alone, would it stop? So you got to ask yourself, are you part of the problem? Viewer at home, are you part of the problem of giving this guy more screen time? And I'm like, fuck you. Fuck you, documentary. I had no idea who this guy was. The name's not even on the goddamn name of the thing. It's like, it's literally called Don't Fuck with Cats, the investigation of an internet cat killer. And I'm like, oh, that seems interesting. I have a cat. I like cats. I want to see this guy be brought to justice. I can't even remember the guy's name. Something blah, 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 rock, not. But yet, I actually do remember one of his victims, Jin Yun. It's like, okay, I do know that name. So, clearly, fuck off. I'm just like, I hate it. I hate this ending so much.
Yeah, that's absolute bullshit. Because, I mean, well, people are naturally drawn to blood, murder, whatever. People are naturally drawn to the macabre anyway. Be it serial killers or what have you, and that's in a general sense. Some people are appalled by it and they avoid it at all costs, which, to that I say, grow a pair. I mean, you do what you do as you wish, that's fine.
And it's one of the things that I'm just like... Joke. I hated... I got into this story because it was like, okay, yeah, I like the idea of like the internet hunt squad that like comes together and goes off and tries hunting down this person or whatever. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. The internet did something. Good for them. Yeah. Not that I'm trying to, get more information on this guy that killed cats or whatever. It's like, no, fuck off, all right? I'm interested in the process, not to give him more airtime.
No, I think pointing the thing at the audience, pointing the finger, I guess, at the audience is a really stupid thing, because, like, are you part of the problem? Well, no, not really. I'm watching the documentary. You made the documentary.
It's such a ham-fisted statement, too. It literally, the movie is practically over. Like, the whole series, it's a 3-episode thing. Like, the episode is over for all intents and purposes. And then they kind of, like, dial it back to being like, oh, and you know what? The one thing that kept me up all these years was, am I part of the problem? And then they cut over to this other guy, and he's like, yeah, I wasn't even sure if I wanted to do this documentary, because it's like, man, are we giving more screen time to this idiot? This, that, this. And I'm like, fuck, they're going to do it, aren't they? They are totally going to fucking do this. They're going to shit the bed with like 5 minutes left in this show, and they're going to do this. And it's like, and I'm like, piss off. I'm so over it. That's the one reason why I'm going to say, like, people don't go off and watch this thing, because it's such a fucking bullshit ending of a... I don't know. There are more elegant and effective ways to point that out with someone. It's like someone walking into a restaurant being like, how dare you eat chicken? Chicken is a living being. It's like, fuck off.
That just makes me want to go buy some chicken nuggets or something. Like, you just put chicken on my mind. Now I just want to go to Chick-fil-A or something. Like, I don't...
do not go to Chick-fil-A for ethical and personal reasons.
Why? What's wrong with Chick-fil-A?
Their owner actively donates to anti-gay and lesbian camps, but yet he is uber conservative and, wants to put forth this idea that it's like, no, clearly being gay is wrong, and we need to do everything we can to fix it. And we all as a nation should go, or people who disagree with that and believe that there's something wrong with being gay, should all rise up and say, nope, we are never going to support Chick-fil-A ever again. And if anybody we see is gay, buys Chick-fil-A, we should point out the hypocrisy in that statement.
I like chicken.
Yeah, so go to churches, go to Popeyes, go to Cane's, go to any number of other places that serve chicken, and don't go to fucking Chick-fil-A. One, also, from a personal standpoint, Chick-fil-A is also gross. I don't like their chicken. Every time I go there, it's cold, it's soggy, their waffle fries suck. I just hate them.
Sounds like you have a very bad Chick-fil-A in your area.
I have multiple Chick-fil-A's, and each one all sucked.
I guess the one I usually went to is very good, I guess. Oh well, I need to stick with my vegetarian diet anyway.
And I established this opinion long before their CEO came out and said these things. It was one of these things that I'm like, okay, I went to them back in high school, back in like 2006 or whatever. I went off, I've never been to Chick-fil-A before. I'll have it. It's not that great, and it's kind of expensive. Huh.
Everybody's got their fast food opinions, so I'm not gonna judge you for
year or so later, I come back and it's the same thing. I'm like, maybe I'll give it a try again. No, it still sucks.
I don't really have anything to say about that because different people like different fast food restaurants.
Obviously, different folks for different strokes. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, totally. I don't know. Now I just want to go buy a fucking cheeseburger. Damn it, I'm hungry.
Yeah, how do you think I felt editing the episode 4? I was like, God damn it, I need In-N-Out right now. And it was like 1 o'clock at night. And I was like, fuck.
Yeah. I think tomorrow I'm going to go, because I have to do some business tomorrow. I think I'm going to probably run up to Subway and get myself, I might break my vegetarian diet and get myself like a foot-long, Philly cheesesteak or something with extra meat.
Yeah, sure. That works, I guess.
I might do that, I might not. I don't know. It's personal choices, damn it.
Yeah.
And I refuse to let vegans shame me. That just adds to the problem.
Yes, I'm vegan. Yes, I eat meat. Yes, we do exist. Wait, what?
I see these memes all the time about that, and I have to question, it's do they actually mean that, or is it satire? It's I can't tell.
Or is it someone just fucking around?
Yeah, so it's a meme is so one-sided, it's I can't tell, damn it.
Yeah.
Oh well.
And then to keep up with what Mummified has been watching, I also have been, like I said, watching The Witcher, which is really, really great, and I'm really, really enjoying it, despite the fact that I'm incapable of retaining events and details from it.
Woot.
It's more of faces and actors and characters that I'm actually retaining. Be like, ah, yes, I recognize that guy. Ah, this other person. And then also I'm 2 episodes away from finishing She-Ra and the Princess of Power, season 4, that is. Getting caught up with that. And fuck, is it really, 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 really good. I really, really, really like that cartoon. It's really, really, really good, Kay.
I guess I should watch it.
Yes, you definitely should. It's really good.
I need to expand my media library. I need to watch more things and stuff.
And then I finally also finished the HBO series of The Watchmen. It's been finished for a while. I just never went back and watched the last 2 episodes. And despite the fact that it is not getting renewed for a second season, I still enjoyed it.
Cool.
Or at least that's what my friend informed me, that it's not getting renewed for a second season. And I'm like, alright, fine. Be that way then.
Be an asshole then about it. Jeez. Yeah, alright. What else do we got? I'm not really sure what else we got on the plate today.
I feel like I've been watching something else, but I can't actually put my finger on it.
Maybe you should put your finger inside of it.
Gross.
Just poke it around, move it around, wiggle it a little bit.
Ew. God, there was something else. I just know it. Witcher, She-Ra, HBO. No, I think that was actually about it. If I don't remember whatever, I definitely will obviously bring it to the next one.
Yeah, and you will promptly DM me about it at 2 a.m.
Do I do that?
No, I'm just kidding.
I was about to say, I'm like, yes, I do that. I message you things I forget in the episode.
No, I think it was one time. No. I think you might have done that one. That was just a joke, but I think you might have done that one time. I'm not sure. I don't remember.
I don't know. If I did, I did. If I didn't, I didn't. Who cares?
I don't care. It doesn't bother me, really. I'm just like, whatever. Things are things, and stuff is items. Things happen. I'm running out of things to say. Despite my best efforts, this particular episode has not been as high energy as I was hoping.
No, but energy aside, I do believe that it still had its merits and its importance, because obviously we did a main chunk of it, obviously talking about writing and whatnot and how we feel about our writings and whatnot, and then obviously getting it can't all be episode 5 where it was nothing but shouting and movies and yay and whatnot. Sometimes we do need a slower episode about, writing and the easy time, just, taking a minute, just being like, I'm going to write a story or whatnot,
That is true. That is very true. And, regardless of high energy or not, I had a lot of fucking fun.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
And then episode 4 launched today.
Yes.
That way we can date this episode and people can understand what the fuck we're actually doing.
Yeah, I was watching. I was watching the main part of that before we got on.
Yeah, I liked it. I think I did a good job with that one as well. But anyway, enough about me talking about my own editing and whatnot.
Hey, you do a good job with it, as far as I'm concerned.
Slap this thing on here, put in the audio, and go from there, kind of thing,
Yeah, whatever, man.
Anyway.
Alright. Well, I don't really have anything else to say, so I guess this episode's going to be a wee bit on the shorter side. A little less than the hour and a half that we're used to. But I think we said our piece, unless you have something else to throw out there.
Remember to hit us up at MaybePilePod and ask us any questions at #AskTheMaybePile, and then we'll answer them here on the show.
You know it. All right. So, like Tony here said, a little bit of a lower energy episode today, a little shorter.
I didn't say that. I said almost the exact opposite of that.
But it was meaningful.
Okay. Yeah.
But it was meaningful. You gotta let me finish, damn it. Even though I don't let anybody else finish, but that's okay. I'm me. I can do that.
You are the host.
Co-host.
Yeah, all right.
I consider this a partnership, a joint effort.
Do we have to sign the legal documents? Are we allowed to do this in some states?
No, I think we're just, I don't know. Don't know how to respond to that one. Just kind of,
Yes, and.
Yes,
if you ever don't know how to respond to it, simply go yes and insert a something in the affirmative.
If only I was a comedian, I would just end every single sentence. I didn't know how to finish with a joke. I just don't know how to do that, though. I'm not a naturally funny person.
Nor is the tortoise, but we still call it Harry.
Right over my head.
Because that's his name.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, end the episode there, Kay.
Do the thing. That took me a minute. That took me a minute to understand that one. Alright. Well, thank you everybody so much for watching and listening. I'm sure that background is very entertaining to look at. So, I'm just gonna go ahead and end it here. Hit us up at Mummified Tony on Twitter, at Kiryoku Writes on Twitter, at MaybePilePod on Twitter, and use hashtag AskTheMaybePile to ask any questions, and we will happily answer them on air. Thank you very much, and have a good one.
Bye bye.
Goodbye.